and a whole lot more. Basically, again, we're using that term disruption and how it's affecting the hospitality, travel, and lifestyle industry. We are joined this morning by Andrew Chan. Andrew is the founder and the CEO of ACI HR Solutions, and you're listening to The Breakfast Club on 938 Now. A very good morning, Andrew.
Very good morning, Keith. Thank you for
Let's
having me.
talk about that often used word, disruption. Is the hospitality, when I use that broadly, travel, lifestyle, is this being affected adversely or by technology?
I think technology is enhancing the industry in general, and I think it's been a necessary tool for the industry. I guess the disruption in the industry over the last few years has probably been through manpower. I think that's probably been one of the problematic issues for the service sector, hospitality, and the service sector, is finding sufficient skilled manning, and that's where I do think that technology is going to disrupt and play a crucial role moving forward.
I would imagine that the hospitality industry, if we are concentrating on that, would welcome this, primarily because the customer service experience hasn't always been as responsive to the service that they've received from these entities, especially here in Singapore, given the fluidity of manpower, which you brought up earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you would expect customer service to be at the forefront of the hospitality sector. If we use, Singapore as an example, I think a lot of hotels, a lot of the service industry is starting to evaluate and looking at how they can actually improve by adopting technology into the organisation.
To be a little facetious, there are certain hotels that even have robots that'll cook your eggs for you these days. Will we see a point in time where perhaps housekeeping could be automated enough in order to perhaps reduce manpower?
Well, actually, we're already seeing that, Keith. We're already actually seeing some form of robotics used. There are hotels out there that have adopted robotics in their housekeeping, and at the push of a button, towels or whatever that you need through normal housekeeping will be delivered by a robot.
What is the major issue ailing the hospitality industry? Since we are talking about hotels, manpower is one of them. Retaining staff, qualified staff, is there even a pool of qualified professionals other than management?
Yeah, very, very good question. I guess one macro issue that is facing the industry, particularly here in Singapore, is, and this year has been a significant one, because there's been actually quite a lot of new hotels that's opened in 2017. In fact, I think when I last counted, there was about 14 new hotels that's opened in Singapore, and that's quite significant. But what has also happened this year is that for the first time there is more people retiring from the workforce than entering. So we're actually entering a negative contraction of the working population here in Singapore. And what that means is it's actually only going to get worse moving forward. So there is already a lack of ready talent coming into the workforce and replacing the next generation. So that has obviously caused a big strain in the overall workforce, more so in the service sector, which has traditionally found it difficult to employ locals here.
So is this trend going to continue, given the fact that there are restrictions on manpower on a legislative basis as well here in Singapore?
It will, Keith. Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly not going to ease. It's going to be more of a challenge. It's going to be tougher for employers, particularly in the service industry, to hire staff.
And in your discussions with such entities, how do they plan to broach the subject, retain talent, or even train talent?
I guess engagement is one critical aspect in retaining their current crop of talents, and I think not enough focus has been put into that. I think the hospitality sector, the service industry, has traditionally been a very command and control type of management style, and I guess no fault of their own. Previous generations, that's how they were brought into the industry. Indeed. That's how they were managed. But with the next generation, with millennials, with Generation Y, I guess a different form of management style is what's needed to fully engage their employees and goes in some way of retaining them.
When we talk about disruption, we always have to talk about the millennials. If it's difficult to attract them into an industry, what is the future of Singapore's hospitality? Given we're a tourism hub, we have a major airport that is one of the best in the world and are trying to attract visitors. If the support is not there, customer service wise, what's the future for us?
Wow, if I had that, if I had that answer,
you'll be the next billionaire.
Absolutely. Look, it is going to be a challenge. I don't know if there is going to be any ready fix. And that is probably, and you sort of broached on it before, that is probably going to be a government solution. Yeah, it's going to be a legislative concern with MOM, and the government's going to have to come in and look to decide on that. And we really sort of just have to make do with what we have at present. You've touched on technology, and that's really already one of the solutions, part of the solutions. You look at we've got a wonderful airport, and Terminal 4 has only just opened.
Right.
But like I said previously, we've got kiosks now, which speeds up check-in, and that sort of alleviates some of that need to have a lot more manning in customer check-ins, and I think that will probably roll out to throughout the sector, throughout the industry, in hotels, in restaurants, in F&B. I think that's one part of the solution.
Before we leave the subject of disruption, technological wise, on the hospitality industry, is enough being done perhaps to cast the net wider? You talked about people retiring. Is the hospitality industry here in Singapore receptive to the older worker?
I think more can probably be done, and it's not just about the older workers. I think there are different segments of the workforce that employers can look to. I think returning mothers are a great source of manpower.
Persons with disabilities.
And absolutely, persons with disabilities. So, I think that's where employers, particularly in the service sector, need to look creatively in terms of bringing different segments of the workforce to alleviate some of the shortages, particularly in customer service.
Andrew Chan is the CEO and founder of ACI HR Solutions. We are talking about disruption within the hospitality industry. When we come back, we'll talk about how this is playing out in the travel industry and what about the job opportunities that exist. Andrew Chan will continue to join us on the Breakfast Club when we come back after an update of what's happening in the world and on the roads of Singapore. Stay with us. A very good morning.
In the know, on the go. 938 Now.